And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, Ryan Metzler here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tasty Minstrel Games. We're going to take a look at Eminent Domain, which is a deck building and action optimization game in which you're going to be trying to take different actions and different roles in order to settle planets and earn victory points. So now that I've given you a real brief overview of what the theme of the game and some of the possible mechanics, why don't we take a look at how it plays, and then I'll come back and give you my opinion at the end of the video. So here you can see pretty much everything included with Eminent Domain, and I'm going to cover gameplay and components at the same time so as to get through this relatively quickly. Each player is going to have a deck of cards, and it's going to be composed of all these different cards you can see in the center, and these cards are going to serve purposes of playing actions throughout the game. So each player is going to have a deck, and they're going to draw 5 cards, and on their turn they're going to do 3 things. And the first is that they're going to play one of these actions from their hand to the table as what's called an action. So they'll play a card to the table as an action. And each card has a different action ability, and they're all written on the cards. So for example, Survey here allows you to draw 2 cards, while Warfare is going to let you take one of these ships, or to use your ships in order to conquer a planet. Colonize is going to let you settle a planet by having a bunch of colonized cards under it, or to place the card itself underneath a planet, getting you closer to settling it. Produce and Trade is going to allow you to either produce one good on a planet, or trade one good from a planet for a victory point. And Research is going to allow you to remove other cards from the game, getting them out of your deck. There's one special card that's not in the center, not available to be taken during the game, and that is the Politics card, and that card is going to let you take one card from the center area and add it to your hand on one of your turns in order for getting rid of the Politics card. After you've played your action by playing a card from your hand, you're going to be able to do what's called taking a roll, and this is mandatory. And that means you're going to take one of these cards from the center of the table, and you're going to do the roll action of the card. Now, not only does this give you that action, but it's also, or that roll, it's going to get the card into your deck. So the cards that you take from the center will go into your discard pile and later be shuffled into your deck. So let's go over the rolls real quick. For example, the Survey roll says that when you take this, you get to look at more planets. And this is going to be how you get victory points. You're going to take planets and be settling them with Colonize or Warfare. So if you use the Survey roll, you get to use these number of icons. These cards will have icons on them, and you'll look at this number of icons minus 1 planet, unless you are the leader of Survey, and then you'll look at how many of these icons you'll have. You'll look at that many planets and choose one to keep. Warfare is going to allow you to collect fighters, these ships, equal to the number of these icons that you play. And so you can get ships that way. If you are the leader, you can actually colonize one planet using your ships rather than taking the ships that you would get for the card normally. Colonizing is going to allow you to either get +1 colony per symbol you have, putting them underneath your card, and allowing you to settle cards, or you're going to be able to settle one planet instead if you're the leader. Produce and Trade. As I said, you're going to basically be able to produce or trade resources based on how many of the icons you have. And Research is going to allow you to get better new cards into your deck if you have a certain amount of resources. So when you take your roll, let's say for example, I were to take Survey, I would be able to boost my roll that I took with extra cards from my hand. So I have 1 symbol right now, and I could boost it with 2 more from my hand, giving me 3 symbols. And that would allow me to look at 3 planets. Now, each player is going to have a starting planet that they get at the beginning of the game randomly, but planets are going to have a layout that looks something like this. You'll get them face down, you'll be able to look at them, but they start face down. And in order to flip them over, you're either going to need to, for example in this one, conquer it with 6 ships, or to settle it with 5 colonies. And when you conquer them, they flip over, and they're oftentimes worth different things. So for example, this one here gives you more victory points, and at the bottom you can produce goods on it, any color good. But another planet might, for example, give you 2 victory points, increase your hand size by 1, and produce a blue good. So all the planets are different, and you're going to be trying to settle those to get victory points. Now, after you have taken a roll, everybody else has the chance of following or dissenting. If they follow, they simply play the amount of symbols from their hand that they would like to do, and take the roll at the bottom of the card. If they dissent, they're going to draw into their hand to kind of get a boost to what cards they have in their hand for when their turn comes around. The game is going to continue until people get rid of this pool of victory points. So there's a set amount of victory points, and once they're gone, the game is going to end. If there's overflow, there's a bonus set of victory points that can be handed out, and you're going to total up the victory points in your deck and in your chips, and whoever has the most victory points wins. Now, I briefly skimmed over research, and research allows you to play the symbols in order to get these cards into your deck, and this is one more way you can get victory points. But these cards are essentially better than the base cards. You'll see they have 2 different symbols on them, and their actions are slightly better than base actions. So this one allows you to collect 2 fighters or attack 1 planet. So it's 1 more fighter, and it has 2 different symbols on it. But you need to research 3 to get it, and you also need to have a specific type of planet. And for having more of those planets, better cards will open up, but they'll require more research, and you'll see some of the better cards here actually give you victory points at the end of the game. Again, as I said, whoever has the most victory points once all of these chips are gone, or once a certain amount of these decks have run out, will win the game. And that's Eminent Domain, a nice deck building / action taking / role playing and following type of game in the vein of Glory to Rome and Race for the Galaxy. Definitely influenced by both, but not the same as either. If you're a fan of either of those 2 games, I definitely suggest you take a look at Eminent Domain. And even if you're not a fan or haven't played them, I'd say this is a great game to take a look at. So, Eminent Domain, a great title from Tasty Minstrel Games, and one I suggest most players take a look at.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.